the features and benefits of the product. So mine is just to reinforce the messages that the previous speakers have given us. So if you want to remember anything about Solvit, first, Ruud mentioned that we have 2 active ingredients. Can you remember them? Madhav, can you remember the active ingredients? There's an exam, so.
One is pentaconazole and
yes.
Another one is piperidine.
So can you remember the contents of those various active ingredients? I want to see if we grasp something.
One is 125 gram.
Yes.
Another one is 350, I think.
Yes, it's 125 grams.
And 350.
And 50 grams. So which is which? Fenpropidine is what proportion?
It's 125.
Ruud, is that correct? The proportion of fenpropidine. You're now marking the exam. What is the proportion of fenpropidine in Solvit? Yes. So fenpropidine, 125. Pentaconazole is 50 grams. So that gives you the composition of Solvit. So we have 2 active ingredients in one product. And key to note is that both of them are translaminar. And translaminar, Ruud defined very well that it moves from the upper epidermis to the lower epidermis. And Daktari mentioned that where do you find most of the rust pustules? Now we are doing an exam. Is it on the upper surface of the leaf or the lower surface? Yeah? You mentioned? On the lower surface. And where do you get powdery mildew? On the upper surface of the leaves. As was mentioned, it will control the pathogens on the surface of the leaves. And you have been told where you find the mycelium of powdery mildew. And it also controls the disease on other parts of the plant. So powdery mildew is difficult to control because you can find it on several parts of the plant. So the calyx, on the canes, on the shoots, you will find the disease. So that means the disease has got no chance of escaping. So one, it will control the pathogen in the surface or on the surface and inside the leaf tissues because of the mode of action. And we have also talked about the fact that it is excellent in the control of powdery mildew and rust. And I think you've seen a series of trials done in Colombia, the Netherlands, here in Kenya. So you've seen quite a lot of reports that show it actually outperforms the standards that we are used to. Then the other important thing is that you have a longer residual effect. So you have protection for between 2 to 3 weeks. So if I ask most of you, how many sprays of powdery mildew do you do in a year? Some farms say 57 sprays. If you do a weekly spray of powdery mildew, those are 52 sprays. So we are giving you a solution that will actually help you reduce your AI load. And I think Ruud mentioned that very well. So low dose rate. And if you compare with what we are currently using, you'd find the amount of AI could be higher, a higher dose rate. And yet our buyers are asking us to reduce the amount of residues on the crop. So again, you have a solution that will actually help you comply with what your market requires. So that means that when you have powdery mildew during peak seasons, those times when are low and you don't sleep at night, the market is pushing you for quality, then you can actually mitigate your powdery mildew very well. And it actually frees your time because you can imagine doing 57 sprays. This is the cost of labor, isn't it? This is the cost of your time. You have to supervise those sprayers who are spraying. Energy. water. Water is becoming a difficult subject. So you can imagine if you're spraying 1,500 liters. So if you're saving 2 sprays, that is 3,000 liters you saved, 3 cubic. So if you're spraying 50 hectares, you can do the math. So there's a lot of savings just beside the cost of product. So basically, you have a more efficient system in terms of disease management. And that's why the point is raised, it improves farm productivity. So instead of you worrying about powdery mildew, you worry about other operational issues, but not in terms of disease management. So the 2 modes of action target the same pathogens. So that means that if you are tackling powdery mildew, both AIs are effective on the same disease. Is what the Americans were doing in Iraq. You remember the Abraham tank? When the Iraqis heard the Americans were coming with the Abraham tank, it was chaotic because they knew the amount of disaster that was going to happen. So for us, we are saying you have a double-barreled attack of the disease with 2 products. So basically, it means you have 2 weapons to target the same enemy. So that gives you a reliable product performance. And Ruda has also talked about the FRAC codes. So you have FRAC 5 and FRAC 3. So 3 is penconazole and 5 is the fenpropidine. So you have 2 AIs tackling the same diseases, but from 2 different modes of action. So again, you have an inbuilt resistance management strategy. And if you remember the chart that Rude drew, from the spore to the germ tube to the growth of the mycelia to the formation of the haustoria, he actually elaborated those stages where Solvit is effective on. So very good on post-infection activity. So which means that as the fungi forms the haustoria that you are told to take away the water and the nutrients, it is actually stopped. And he mentioned something called ergosterol. So in human beings, you have cholesterol. So ergosterol is very important in the formation of membranes of fungi. So if that process is inhibited, it means that it cannot be able to colonize the tissues of the plant. So that's why we are saying you have very excellent preventive control as well as curative control. Then the speed of uptake has been mentioned. It is within 30 minutes of application. And remember, you were told in 1 square inch you can have how many conidia? If you can remember. You were told you can have up to 3 million conidia within 1 square inch. So that means it is a disease that can be able to spread very, very rapidly. So if the uptake is very fast, it means that in terms of control, you'll get a faster response. But also if you are growing outdoors, then it is rain fast within 30 minutes. So if it rains within 30 minutes after application, then you are not worried about losing the active ingredient. So in terms of resistance management, just again to emphasize, we look at integrated crop management, and I think Dr. has dwelled on it, talked about cultural practices, he mentioned biological control, and the use of fungicides. So use Solvit, sorry, I need some help. The red one, huh? To go back. Yes. So IPM, ICM is an important part of our growing today. And that's why in the room you can see us collaborating with our colleagues from the IPM companies, because we recognize the importance of what the market wants. So use Solvit alongside other methods of control, and sanitation was mentioned quite a lot. Pruning, yeah, you remove the infested debris from the greenhouse. to avoid another source of inoculum. And another very important thing regarding fungicides or insecticides that you need to use the recommended dose. So let us not reduce the dose because we think the product works very well. So let's use the recommended dose of application, which was mentioned between 750 mils and 1 liter per hectare. So do not apply the product at reduced dose rates. And also mentioned by Daktari is that breeding for resistant varieties against powdery mildew is not very easy because of the several pathotypes that he talked about. And we're actually saying that when you're using Solvit, you must use it in a prudent manner that follows the frag codes. And I think Ruud gave a program that once you apply Solvit 3 times, then you need to rotate with other molecules that have different modes of action. So again, just to emphasize, you can use Solvit under greenhouse or outdoor grown roses, and also carnations and other ornamentals. Like Margaret has mentioned, you can use them on solidagos and hederas. And the disease, again, just to remember, powdery mildew and rust. Lately, we are seeing a lot of rust coming up on roses. It's a big issue. And if you use Solvit in the program, then there's no danger of having epidemics of rust in your greenhouse. And also mentioned is that Solvit has a side effect against botrytis. It is not the #1 line of control for botrytis, but when you use it in a program, it also reduces your pressure for botrytis disease. So as a general rule for fungicides, we emphasize the need for early application. So when you notice signs and symptoms of the disease, or the weather conditions are favorable like we have been told, the optimum temperatures for germination was 22 degrees. Yeah, you remember the humidity levels, if they are quite high, then it means that you could anticipate powdery mildew, especially where the source of inoculum is available. So apply early at the onset of disease. And again, for you to get the best results out of Solvit, we recommend 3 successive sprays within 5 to 7 days. Then you can alternate with molecules from other different frag codes. So again, just to emphasize, with Solvit, your first action, you have both preventive and curative action and a longer residual control.